What disappointment when you get a new motorized bicycle all set up and you go riding it. You're like, oh my God, is this all there is? Yeah, very disappointing. But they do that on purpose. They did tune it in every way possible in order to make it pass all the government regulations for it to be sold in all countries. So then it's up to you. It's a huge learning experience, and the door is wide open for you to step in and learn something new. So this is my page of everything, almost everything I've learned since getting a motorized bicycle. And there is many topics to cover here. So it should be your learning partner through the winter. So these are the main things that you can do to modify an engine to get it to run better. The most often seen in advertisements is the cylinder head. And they are the high compression heads, and they can be an improvement, but I think mostly that your money could be better spent in other areas. I've modified my engines in so many ways, and I've never bought a high compression head, because what I did is I just took the head off, put it on sandpaper on glass, and ground down the mating surface probably about 1.5 millimeters, and that ups the compression enough to give you a power boost without it being too much. You can get more of a power boost if you get more compression, but it causes the weak chrome lining on the inside of the cylinder to come off quicker. Trust me, I've done this many times. I bought many cylinders, and it took me a while to figure that out. Very important to make the cylinder last. Don't have too high compression. Don't have too high engine heat from too advanced ignition and too lean jetting. And use really good engine oil. Something that is very protective. So another thing very commonly advertised is reed valves. This is my first reed valve. I made it by hand. These are carbon fiber sheets. And it worked, but it was somewhat limiting for top RPM. This is the next one I went to, the rock solid. It has more area than this one did, but it still does not have as much flow area as this type does. But the advantage of this is it does not allow a lot of space right here that weakens the crankcase compression. What is the main advantage for the reed valve? It is to cause low RPM running to be stronger and more consistent. On a piston port engine, no matter how good you get it running, it's always going to be weak below 2000 RPM. I know that's the very beginning, but it still matters. When you're on a one-speed bike, the whole range, the whole RPM range matters. So it's a good modification to go to. Unfortunately, the carburetor that comes with these kits is set up to handle a piston port engine. Okay? The beginning of these suction waves from a piston port are much stronger than from a reed valve. And so the clearance between the needle and the needle jet is smaller. That's the main thing that you can't easily change to switch between a piston port and a reed valve. So it's highly recommended when you get a reed valve to also get a motorcycle carburetor. This is my page about all the different carburetors available. This is one that I've used. Very, very good. And what is on it right now is the Mikuni 18. Excellent carb that can very well be adapted to both the 48cc and the 69cc engine. I know they call it an 80cc, but it isn't. It's 69cc. So, yeah, put a different carburetor on there. The advantage of a carburetor, even if you don't put a reed valve on there is the adjustability of a motorcycle carburetor is much more than what you have with the standard carburetor. More adjustable means you can fine-tune it better to run better. Next is the expansion chamber. This is my page about expansion chamber. I did a test between the stock pipe and this expansion chamber, which I designed and created. And the test was with a standard exhaust pipe, a standard exhaust pipe with an extra hole drilled into the end of it, and this one. And there was this hill. The beginning of it was at 3 degrees inclination, and the latter section of it was 8.5 degrees. So this is how far I got up on the inclined road using the stock pipe, and so much further using the modified stock pipe, and then up the steep part using the expansion chamber. So the very minimal you want to do is modify the stock pipe. If you want to go farther to get even better results, an expansion chamber. These are ones that are available. All not very good. These two are much better. This one is better than this one, even though they look similar, because look at the step here in the transition from the header to the diffuser. And this has a better defined diffuser and baffle cone than this one does. But this one is more expensive. This is like twice the cost of this one. But depending upon your budget, either one of those are my top pick. I used to sell pipes for the motorized bicycle, but I stopped because it's just too much of a headache. Next thing is the sprocket. The stock bike only revs to like 5,000, 5,500, not including the new Avenger engine. And the sprocket that they put in the kit is adequate for that low RPM engine, but as you go up in RPM, you might want to get a slightly bigger sprocket. This one is a 44 tooth, and this engine revved up to about 8,000. Next is the crank. A lot of these engines vibrate too much, and they need extra holes drilled in the crank wheels, and that's a whole different subject I'm not really gonna elaborate on at all right now. Next is a higher output stator coil. There's a spinning magnet on this side of the engine, and that magnet, that alternating magnetic field, induces a voltage in the stator coil, and the stator coil sends that voltage to the CDI. If you get a stronger magnet, you get more voltage to the CDI, which means a stronger spark to the spark plug. And if you get a higher output stator coil, the same thing, you can get more voltage and a stronger spark. When you look at the ones that are being sold, there are 2-wire coils and there are 3-wire coils. The 3-wire coils are the weakest ones because they include a coil just for lighting the bike, headlight, tail light. So that space being used there that the primary coil could have. So buy a coil that only has 2 wires. Next is porting in the cylinder. The ports are very low. Like I said, everything about this bike is designed for low power. The cheapest way to port a cylinder is to use a rotary tool and a cutting disc. The cutting disc, there's 2 types, the fiberglass and these grainy types. I don't know what you call them. They sit on the end of this shaft right here, and then a little screw goes in to hold them in place. And there's usually 3 speeds with these. I've used the Black & Decker RTX. Let me see if I can find it. I guess they discontinued the RTX model. Notice how slim this one is. There are some that are fat, and that has to go into that small cylinder, so you don't want a fat one. You want a slim one. And the Black & Decker has good quality. Some of these are just cheap Chinese junk. Some of them are good. You know, there's a lot of different ones to try. Last but not least is the CDI. The one that comes on it is an integral unit that is a combination of CDI and high voltage coil. I designed this CDI right here. And this is the curve of the standard ignition. And this is the curve of the Jaguar Performance CDI. So other than being a little bit less reliable because it's cheaply made, the stock CDI is okay in most cases, up to about 8,000 RPM. If you go over that, you're using a motorcycle cylinder or you've ported the stock cylinder, you should get the adjustable Performance CDI. The link to it is on the same website. All the topics that I cover about the motorized bicycle engine. There's a direct relationship between the spark strength and the engine power. So the stronger a spark you have, the stronger an engine you have. So if you increase the voltage at the stator coil, and then you use the Performance CDI to adjust it, to fine-tune it for your engine, and then you use a motorcycle high voltage coil to power the spark plug, then you're going to have the strongest spark possible. The stock setup is usable with an original NGK spark plug, but if you get one of the NGK copies, it may foul right away, or not even run from the get-go because of the low spark voltage that the stock setup delivers to the spark plug. So that's about it for now. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. Thanks for watching.